Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. And Liz, you wanted me to turn on the camera? Yeah, you want the camera on?
Yes, please.
Okay. I combed my hair for all of you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Um, I'm in a meeting.
Yeah, you choose something?
Mm-mm.
No.
Chair, before we proceed to the roll call, we have Commissioner Pisano on Zoom via teleconference and for just cause. So if you can disclose the reason. Well, we can see, but for the record, for the record,
You want me to say?
just that you're there due to illness.
I'm here due to illness and, yes, I'm here due to illness and then also for your safety so that you do not, I don't know if I'm contagious. I don't think so, but I'm, yeah.
Noted for the record. Thank you, Commissioner Pisano.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Britnell, Commissioner Martorana, Commissioner Pisano,
Here,
Commissioner Sanchez, and Chair DeBreeze.
Sure. Okay, there's no public comments like we normally do because it's a special meeting. So we will go right into the consent item, which consists of the affidavit of posting and the minutes from just last week, March 4th. If anybody has any commissioners have any questions? Now's the time. Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion, or I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second? All in favor?
second,
Well,
I,
okay, all right.
Because of the teleconference and she's there, I have to do the roll call.
Okay, we'll do roll call.
Commissioner Britnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Martorana, absent. Commissioner Pisano,
I.
Commissioner Sanchez, and Chair DeBreeze.
Aye. Okay, now moving to first action item, general plan annual progress report. The recommendation from staff is to accept the general plan annual progress report and recommend the city approve the report. Ilse, I assume you've got this, right?
Correct. Thank you.
There we
If we
go.
can pull up the PowerPoints, please. Perfect, thank you. So tonight for item 3A, we are going to be doing the general plan annual progress report. So to help facilitate an easier or more digestible discussion, here is a list of frequently used terms for you all to reference as we go along. I won't be going through all of them, but this is just for reference for everybody to know what all these acronyms mean. Okay, so just a little bit of background on the general plan annual progress report. The annual progress report is essentially a report to demonstrate how the city is implementing its general plan over the course of the year. In this instance, it's going to be the 2024 calendar year going from January 2024 through December 2024. This annual progress report is required under Government Code Section 65400 and 65700. Per state law, all cities and counties must submit a general plan APR to the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, LCI, or formerly known as the Office of Planning and Land Use, OPR. And also the California Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as HCD. So all the general plan APRs must be submitted by April 1st. So we have until April 1st of this year to submit the general plan APR. One of the requirements is that the APR must be presented to the local legislative body for review and acceptance. Here we are.
I have a quick question. I'll say, when you say that it has to be reviewed and accepted by the local legislative body, we are one legislative body, but I'm assuming after us, it needs to go to the city council?
Correct.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. So Thank you for your question. It goes into this one. So here we are reviewing and presenting the information to the Planning Commission. After this, the general plan APR will be reviewed for acceptance to the City Council on March 18th. So here it's a brief overview of the contents of what the general plan annual progress report contains. Chapter 1 is essentially an introduction and how we comply with the general plan guidelines. Chapter 2 is how the city is in compliance with the housing element and the status of our housing element update. Chapter 3 are planning activities and general plan efforts that occurred in the 2024 calendar year. So this includes Muni Code amendments, general plan amendments, and major development project amendments. Project applications, sorry about that. Chapter 4 contains city accomplishments, adjustments, and priorities for 2024. And Chapter 5 wraps it up with the interagency, intergovernmental coordination, and promotion of infill development, reuse, and redevelopment. So we're going to be going over each chapter just so you all know what's inside. So Chapter 1 is the overview. The city adopted the 2035 general plan on November 1st, 2015. This 2035 general plan complies with the guidelines outlined in the LCI's general plan guidelines and addresses all 7 mandated elements under Government Code Section 653205. So the 7 required elements are land use, circulation, housing, conservation, open space, noise, and safety. So one thing to note is that the city is not required under state law to address the following general plan elements, which is the air quality element, since we're not located in the San Joaquin Air Pollution District, and the environmental justice element, as the city does not have any identified disadvantaged communities identified under SB 535. However, the general plan does include the additional elements of economic development, public facilities and services, historic preservation and community design, health, and strategic plan. So Chapter 2 encompasses the updates that occurred in, the last updates for the general plan. The last update that occurred was in November 2015. However, the city has been working towards making updates to the land use, circulation, conservation, open space, historic preservation, and community design and strategic plan elements. In 2024, the city made significant efforts towards updating the city's sphere of influence, also known as the SOI, and also established an urban growth boundary and planning area. So the next major updates due to these significant efforts are expected to occur by the end of 2025 and 2027. That way, everything is updated and reflects what needs to be within the general plan. So Chapter 2 also includes how the housing element is in compliance. The housing element is required under state law, and it provides a plan for accommodating future housing production needs. The city's housing element is currently undergoing review. It was submitted to HCD for comments on December 22nd, 2024. So we are expecting comments back this week. So that's just an update there. So one thing to note is that although this is a general plan APR, the state law does require that the housing element APR be separate, as it does include different things that need to be addressed and identified for housing needs and how it meets the regional housing needs allocation for the state. So that one will be presented after this general plan APR. And the housing element APR must also be submitted by April 1st. So both of these APRs will be submitted at the same time. So Chapter 3 includes an overview of the planning activities and general plan efforts that occurred in 2024. There was a resolution on January 16th to identify and secure state and federal grants to pay for the city's water import compliance project. And then the last box is how these resolutions are consistent with the general plan policies. So as we go through these slides, we'll identify the resolution, when it was adopted, the description, and then the general plan policies that apply. So the next one, March 19th, the city seeks information and update on the strategic plan, and they scheduled public workshops, and those applied to the general plan policies listed on the screen. Here's another resolution from April 16, 2024, which amended the PLHA program, which allocated funds from ADUs to homeless supportive services. And that was also consistent with the general plan policies identified. In May and June of 2024, there was resolutions to levy and collect assessments within the community facilities district. And that was also consistent with the general plan policies. In December, the city accepted the draft of the urban growth sphere of influence MOU and sent it to the county for consideration and approval. And that was also consistent with the general plan policies listed on the screen. So the city also did muni code amendments. In 2024, there was only one that was conducted. And this was to update or amend Chapter 5-4 under Title 5 for Public Health and Safety and Welfare of the San Juan Bautista Muni Code to update the non-exclusive franchise agreements for collection of solid waste to comply with Senate Bill 1383. So here are the proposed amendments for the general plan. So we are planning to amend specific provisions of the general plan focused on growth through infill development. And this was initiated in November 2023. In December 2024, the MOU was approved by the City Council with the revised urban growth boundary and sphere of influence for the city of San Juan Bautista. The MOU was then sent to San Benito County for consideration and approval. And this process will culminate in formal adoption of amendments to specific general plan maps, goals, and policy by the city and approval by LAFCO in 2025. So some major development projects that were identified in 2024, it's one that's been substantial and ongoing is the gas station with commercial retail development, which is located on the southeast corner of the Alameda and State Highway 156, as seen on the map. Currently, this project is undergoing building permit review, and there has been ongoing preparation of environmental studies by consultants for a right turn lane on Highway 156. So that wraps up the general plan APR report, the wonderful 14-page report that was sent over. So I'll pass it on to Chair DeVries.
Okay, thank you, Ilse. Did you prepare those slides and all this stuff yourself? That you
Yes,
really nice work.
thank you.
Beautiful. Commissioners, Eddie, Elise, any questions, thoughts, comments, feedback, anything? Eddie, start with you. Anything?
My mic's dead, sorry.
Use this one.
Yeah.
Do you want to use mine?
No, I thought it was very well put together, so thanks for doing that. You did make it very easy on the palate for us to go through it. So that's greatly appreciated. And the fact that, you allowed us time to review this, so that I know me personally, I'm trying to engage as much as I possibly can. So having this data in front of us so we can speak with data is definitely helpful. Thank you. No questions.
Elise, and then Ida, if you have anything after Elise,
I have no questions. Thank you.
I do.
let's hear from, let's hear from the sickie in bed.
I do. I want to make sure that before we submit this for, to council, that the information, and it is very good, Ilse, really nice job. But I thought that last year, the city council, nixed the economic development department. Is that not correct? So
You
I
are
don't know how we,
correct. Yes.
I don't know how we can be compliant or say we're compliant if we don't have an economic development department. That's one. And then under the GP policies, I just picked this one as an example, but the policy ED 3.2.2 states foster an environment of coordination among the city's stakeholders. I guess what I'm looking at, and this comes from the educational background, and I believe most of you are aware what a SMART goal is, right? It has to be measurable. It has to answer several questions: when, where, and how, because how are we to know if we are successful with that particular policy or part of the general plan when we review it, let's say next year or 2027, how do we know if we've reached the goal? And so I see that, again, well put together, but just my questions are that, one, if we don't have it, we're not compliant, the Economic Development Department. And then two is, how do we look at this, a few years from now and say, oh, we did it, we're successful? Because it's pretty blank when it says foster an environment of coordination among the city stakeholders. I don't know if you're looking at what I have just mentioned, but there's no measure of how we're gonna know if that has been achieved. I definitely think it would be the city of San Juan Bautista. The what is there, but when do we expect this to be achieved? How do we measure it? Is it, and which stakeholders are we talking about? So I'm looking more at specifics so that we can be accountable. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. That does make sense. I do want to clarify that this policy was in alignment with the resolution to seek public input on updating the city's 2023 strategic plan.
Mhm.
That's how the city was in compliance with that essential policy. But I do hear you on it being very broad. And that is something that we can all work on if we want to update the general plan and make amendments there to make the policies, the goals, and the objectives more specific. However, generally with general plans, the policies are very broad sometimes to allow cities to essentially be more flexible with the programs and other implementation tools that are implemented with the city. But I think together as a city planning commission, city council, the community, we can all work together to clearly identify those policies. And this APR also serves as a tool to see how we are achieving those goals and policies. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. but I did want to answer the economic development element part. The economic development element is not a required element for the city under state law. So that is just an additional element that was incorporated by the city because they thought that at the time it was a good element to incorporate. I did also see in the 2023 general plan APR that the economic development department or that whole effort and coordination was nixed in, I believe, towards the end of 2023. So I think that was covered there, which is why I didn't include it in the 2024, since we are just covering from January through December. But if there is additional information from 2024 that should be incorporated, I'd be happy to incorporate that information in there too. But
Hmm.
hopefully that
Um,
answers some of your questions.
It doesn't, it doesn't, because I think there was mention of the Economic Development Department last year because that was one of the contentions that as a city and a city that or town that wants to be progressive and to grow, the Economic Development Department is important to have in any city, however the size is. And in our case, because we have been struggling with the businesses in town, I think that is important. And I believe there was a meeting where there was last year. I don't have it in mind, but it was a discussion. And I believe there's also contention on that. John, do you remember any of that about the Economic Development Department being nixed?
I'm sorry, are you asking?
It was discussed in a meeting.
I definitely do remember that, yes.
Okay. And anything, I mean, to add to this?
I don't know if it could be form over substance. I'm happy to look into it about whether or not we're out of compliance because we don't have that actual entity, but de facto, do we, you know, I'm happy to look into that for you.
Okay. And then, so Ilse, you are addressing the questions, but it doesn't satisfy what I'm thinking in regards to passing this along. Does that make sense? I hate to be the one that stops the ball rolling, but you know,
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate your comments. I did want to get a little bit more clarification on what you mean about the Economic Development Department. As technically the economic development element isn't a required element under state law, but the city has it as a element in their general plan. So since we do have an economic development element, we have policies, goals, and objectives for the city for economic development. Even if we don't have a department for it, it's still identified in our general plan. So our general plan still has those goals, objectives, policies that as a city, we will be working towards to make sure that we are implementing those goals. So just because we don't have technically a department, doesn't mean that we're striving towards those goals. We are, but we just don't have the department for it. But we are working with the community and local organizations to get that going. So that's something that maybe we can incorporate into 2025 since that is happening in 2025. So I incorporated information that I was aware of that was documented from 2024. And for the meeting regarding economic development, I'd be also happy to look into that furthermore, since I did look through each of the agenda items from 2024 and the resolutions. ordinances, amendments. I'll double check that information.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you,
I really
Elise.
appreciate that. One other comment under the major development with the gas station. I know that was one of the things that I was really looking forward to finding out what's going on there. And it's not clear to me when it says, if you can, who is doing the environmental study, and if you could clarify what ongoing preparation for the environmental study. So, do we have a timeline, anything on that?
Yeah,
And
so
I guess this goes back to, having the SMART goals met, is that it's kind of vague to me.
thank you. Yeah. So in regards to the ongoing preparation of the environmental study, under state law, we are required to do tribal consultations prior to the release of like any like CEQA documents or general plan amendments. So by the ongoing preparation, we're currently in the tribal consultation stage. Once we have that completed, if there is a tribe that says, hey, we want to do a consultation, the city will then move forward towards doing that prior to the release of the public document. So right now we are in that period of the 30-day waiting period to get communication back from the tribes. So unfortunately, unless we get a tribal consultation, we really don't have a next steps, because it could either be A, B, or C type of thing. So that's what I meant by ongoing preparation.
Mm,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, well, thank you very much for answering the questions.
Problem.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Ida. Elise. You sure?
Yes.
Okay, only follow-up I have might be for Ilse and Ashley. On the slide, chapter 3, GP amendments. Last bullet point, process will culminate in formal adoption of amendments to specific GP maps, goal, and policies, etc. Is EMC currently or anticipating doing that work? And where are they? Are they done with it, or they haven't started, or they're in the process?
Yes, they currently have that general plan amendment. We actually did meet with them last week about the updates on it. So we are working with them to get that going.
Great.
We're just checking off our boxes to make sure that we have what we need to move forward. So
Right.
we're just
What's your guess on us seeing a draft?
that's a little hard.
Get your magic 8-ball.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could say next week, but that's definitely not possible.
Okay, by
But
season,
within,
summer, spring, summer, fall,
I would say summer, that's more feasible.
Summertime?
Hopefully sooner, but summer's more achievable.
okay, that's fair. Thank you. Any other questions then for Ilse, Ashley, anybody? No? If not, this is agenda items for action, so do you need a recommendation to approve? I'm sorry, do you, I can't even talk. Do you need a motion to recommend that the city council accept this report? Is that a recommendation from the council? Or recommend the city council approve? Yeah, so therefore we're looking for a motion to accept the general plan annual progress report that we just heard about and recommend that the city council also approve the report. So in other words, a motion that we approve it and we recommend that the council do the same. Of course, they can do whatever they want, but that's the motion. Well, it's true.
I move that the Planning Commission approve the GP as presented today and recommend that the city council do the same.
Great. Is there a second on the motion? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Elise, seconded by Commissioner Eddy. Roll call vote, please, Liz. Pardon? Oh, is there anyone? Sorry. When we're all by ourselves here, it's hard to remember the public.
If anybody in Zoom wishes to make a public comment, please raise your hand. So you know, hands raised, Chair.
Okay.
Calling the question, motion by Commissioner Britnall and second by Commissioner Sanchez. Commissioner Britnall,
Aye.
Commissioner Pisano,
Abstain.
Commissioner Sanchez, and Chair DeBreeze.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Elise. Elise, I told you. I bet you it's 6 months before I quit doing that. What do you think? 6 months? Give me 6 months. I think even after 6 months, I'll still be screwing that up. Thank you, Ilse, for that great work on that once again. Okay, agenda 3B, Housing Element Annual Progress Report.
No worries, thank you. So item 3B, the Housing Element Annual Progress Report. So similar to the general plan APR, the Housing Element APR is essentially a report of how the city is implementing its housing element over the course of the year. It's also required under Government Code Section 65400 and 65700. Per state law, all cities and counties must submit a housing element APR to the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, as well as the California Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as HCD. So the APRs must be also submitted by April 1st, and they must be presented to the local legislative body for review and acceptance. So the housing element APR and the general plan APR will be submitted at the same time. So in 2024, in regards to the housing element, there were 5 building permits received. 1 building permit was approved and 4 building permits are pending approval. Of these building permits, 4 were ADU permits and one building permit was for construction of 2 duplexes. In 2019, we received one building permit, and it was approved in 2019. Sorry, I believe that should have been sorry, never mind. It was approved in 2019, and this building permit type was a rehab affordable housing at Casa Rosa. Okay, so just an overview, the building permits issued by affordability, 4 were deed restricted and 1 was non-deed restricted for a total of 5 units in 2024. The units by structure type, 2 to 4 units per structure, 4 were permitted and 4 were completed. For the ADU, 1 got their entitlement permits and they got their building permits. However, that has not yet been constructed. Of the building permits, 2 of the projects were indicated as infill, which created a total of 5 units. For housing applications, the city received a total of 4 housing applications. The number of proposed units in all applications received were 5 units, and the total housing units approved in overall in 2024 was 1. For ministerial and discretionary applications, 4 were discretionary permits with a total of 5 units. For density bonus applications, the number of projects permitted with the density bonus was 1. The number of projects permitted, the number of units and projects permitted with the density bonus was 4. So overall in 2024, no housing applications for the following streamlining provisions were submitted. So that includes SB 432, SB 9 for duplex and single family zone, SB 9 for a residential lot split, AB 2011, SB 6, and SB 423. And that is it on my end. So that summarizes the number of housing we received in 2024.
Great work again, I'll say. Do you guys know what a density bonus is, Eddie, Elise?
I'm sorry, a density what?
When she referred to density bonuses,
No.
can you for everyone's benefit, why don't you describe what a density bonus, what's that?
Okay. So density bonus, it essentially allows applicants to do additional housing based off of a percentage, correct?
Right.
I can't remember. So it just provides additional provisions for them to like streamline that process as well. Just reduces also the number of regulations that apply to them, like parking waivers, all that stuff. But if you want to provide a more comprehensive
No,
overview,
that's
I'm so
basically-
sorry.
You allow more to happen on a lot or piece of property than would otherwise be allowed.
Yes.
And it's all in, and same with this SB, AB stuff. This is all in response to the
Mhm.
housing crisis,
Yes.
which we know, well, we know about the housing pressure around here, don't we? And by the way, I was chuckling because when you're going through your slides, yeah, we got 1 of those, 2 of those. I wonder what Hollister's numbers look like last year for 2024. We got
Yeah.
600 of those and 430 of those, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. When I was,
remarkably low around here.
yeah, no, it was an interesting, it was interesting to do the APR for the housing units and something that
Nice and
we'll,
quiet.
yeah, we'll work on just to make sure that we meet the RENA numbers.
That's what's important. Do you
since
know
we
what
do-
do you know what RENA numbers are? So regional housing
Needs allocation.
needs allocation assessment. So it's the government's way of saying every community has to provide their fair share of housing.
Mhm. So the
So-
state provides those numbers to the
the
San Benito COG, right? Council of Governments.
And bad,
then-
I thought.
Oh yeah, AMBAG, sorry. And then they distribute those numbers to the appropriate jurisdictions. So that's how we get our numbers.
And that's the number that, so that's kind of onerous. A lot of people say, whoa, wait a minute, Sacramento's telling us how many houses we need to build? Answer yes. And if you
Yes.
don't, they have these things called CDBG funds, Community Block Development Grant Funds. And they say, you want your fund, you want your money? Then fulfill your arena numbers. And if you don't,
Mhm.
we're putting the cookies away. So they've got you about doing that. And our arena number is 111, I think.
I need to
It's
double
pretty
check.
low.
Yeah.
Hollister's is crazy high. And you have an opportunity when those numbers are being passed out to go argue about it, if you want to. Query whether how successful you'd be, but once you get that number, you get that number. That all folds into this housing element,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to infill.
Yep.
Because if we have these obligations to meet, then where are they going to go?
Right.
Mhm.
And that leads me to my question, which is the infill study that EMC did. I spoke with Michael Groves, I think in the fall, and he said it was done and on Don's desk, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So, when is that going to be made public and start discussing it, look under the hood? And then B, one of the things I did talk with Don Reynolds about in the fall also, Ashley, was query whether the UGB SOI committee, which is just kind of up on the shelf, because Don and I talked about is there any need for this committee? Should it be officially disbanded? And he said, well, you know, you never know what else might come along. If you have a committee already formed, that could be useful to do that. And he thought, you know, query whether the committee could dig into that infill study. So either way, I think the infill study needs to kind of be unearthed and breathed some life into it. What do you all think about that? What's the status? And
Feel like I'm gonna do a pop quiz any second.
what's that?
Pop quiz, Ashley.
Yeah.
Tell me about infill. Um, it is on my to-do list.
Huh.
I don't have an answer for you today, but it's on my to-do list and check back with me in like a month. Because I
Okay.
think I do think it's important as we move forward to start having those discussions.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to catch you off guard or put you on the spot or both, but obviously with the work that the UGB committee and the SOI Sphere of Influence, it not only focuses on infill, it really, really encourages infill. So the question presented is, okay, well, how many houses can we build within city limits without going on to the prime ag fields or up into the cattle ground and so forth? What's our capacity for housing? And there'd been some informal, you know, that's one good thing about a small town. You can kind of ride your bike around and say, count, you know, 1, 2, 8, 9. So it's not too hard to do, but when the consultant that did the housing element was here, we talked a little bit about his ability to use satellite this and what and blah, blah, blah. And it was pretty high tech, the imaging that was available to answer the question, how many houses can San Juan Bautista provide within its city limits? So that's an interesting question. Wouldn't you guys agree? I think it's an interesting question.
Agreed. Very interesting question.
Well, and I don't want to have a spoiler alert for in a month or so, but did you flip ahead and look to see what the answer is? How many houses can we build? No, you haven't? Aren't you dying to know? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that Epstein list, like who's on it?
Oh, come on.
I kind of want to know how many houses can San Juan build? No, I know, stretch a point to make a point, but the point is that's the answer to that really affects our future and our character as a town. And, you know, can we
Yes.
because prior to knowing that, it's all just theory.
Mhm.
And if we
And-
do have to sprawl out over to the ag fields and everywhere else and turn this place into Gilroy, God forbid, then we should know that. But I have a hunch that the infill study will substantiate the theory that we have quite a bit of capacity within city limits to last a number more cycles with RENA numbers. I think we'll be okay. I think.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing up the topic because that is going to be coming up in the next couple months.
Mhm.
So this is like an introduction to what's coming up.
Yeah.
Coming soon to a commission near you.
Well, I'm glad it's coming up. I think it's a very important topic and everything that's going on here within our community from fire, water, all of it ties together. And it is very important that we have that number so that we know what we can do and how long we have until we need to make other accommodations.
Yes.
So, and that is what this group is here to do, is to plan. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yes.
We're eager beavers to see those numbers. If you will.
And it's interesting, there are interesting philosophical questions that go along with it. Like, all right, well, if we don't want to go out, do we want to go up? And do you want to have, you know, 4-story multifamily buildings in town if it means you get to preserve ag
Well, yes.
I don't
and
have
then you run into another problem with our infrastructure.
and
Right.
infrastructure?
And then we run into another problem with our equipment for the fire. If we do that, then there's more equipment required. So yeah, it's buco
almost as if-
importante.
And
It's
I
almost as
just-
if those things require good planning.
Oh my God, what a concept.
Eddie, what
I
do you have to
just-
say? What do you have to say about anything, Eddie? Any comments?
Oh, no, well, you guys hit the nail on the head. It's trickle down economics. It's, you know, you can have a snowball effect one way or another. My question would be is how often do these numbers come out and can we gauge by looking at history at a median number?
Yeah, so the housing element is updated every 8 years. Recently, the housing element was done for the fourth and fifth cycle. Since the city was technically out of compliance, city's now in compliance with those two. And right now we are doing the housing element for the sixth cycle. So that one, we're waiting for HCD to give comments back, so that should have the numbers on there. But that's also gonna be coming up for planning commission, in regards to the numbers, but the state is the one who determines the numbers.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Elise, you got it? Ida, do you have anything you want to ask or add? Any comments?
Yes, yes. Number one is to say that, yes, this is a hot topic that we had been in discussion last year as far as housing. And it had to do, we needed the number of what you were asking with regards to how many can we build, where should we build? And looking at the avenues of how to get to that number. But I think one of the questions that we had is with regards to permits, how easy or how hard, difficult is it for these people that are applying for permits to get their permits to build? So in that regard, you said that there were a total of 5. 4 were, excuse me, 4 were completed. 1 is pending. Can you expound on that? Well, example, you said Casa Rosa. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Where are these places located, the buildings?
They are on the housing, they're identified in the housing element APR. It includes the APNs, the street number, just going here through my pages.
Mhm.
On the printed version, it's quite small, but on table, I believe it's A2 and table A, those street addresses and APNs are identified along with the type of units, if it's renter or owned, when the application was submitted, if it was approved, and then if they used any state streamlining provisions or additional
Mhm.
incentives. So all that information is on the APR report.
Okay,
Now
my
when-
apologies. I don't have that in front of me, Ilse, but
oh,
thank
no
you.
worries. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll look in when I have all that. Question, there was one builder who came up in planning committee and proposing, I can't remember what the name is because it's changed so many times, but the field on Third Street by the waste water system. And that one was, I think, what maybe Dan was referring to, that they had proposed a 3-story. Where are they at status-wise in their permit?
They haven't submitted a permit. I didn't see any permits submitted in 2024.
Or was it
As of,
till then? Mhm.
yeah, as of 2025, no additional permits were received in regards to that specific property.
Okay.
So as of
Well,
now, it's not,
again, go ahead.
oh, sorry. As of now, that one in specific, isn't identified in the APR, just because it hasn't been submitted on there. But I did want to let the commission know that on table A2, there are yellow highlights. It doesn't mean that the information was not entered. It in the APR form, it states that those dates needed to be submitted in 2024. Sorry, it's super tiny. But since those specific building permits weren't submitted in 2024, Those dates weren't identified, but they did receive additional like certificate of occupancy or other building permits issued, which is why they were included on here since they're making progress towards certificate of occupancy. So I just wanted to make sure that was noted on there. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. And again, I do want to compliment you. I mean, very concise, factual, just a great report that you've done here. And I know how much time that takes and then the organization of it. So thank you. Just wanted to make sure that those questions were answered, but good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mhm. Okay, I think we've exhausted planning commissioner comments and questions. And now, Madam Clerk, do you see any hands raised for public comment?
Seeing no hands raised, Chair.
And I just want to thank Commissioner Pisano for not being here to cough on us. Sorry, Ida, but I hope you feel better. Water and sleep, I guess, right? Public comments closed. And I think we're ready for a motion, similar to the last one. Receive
Make-
this report and recommend that the council do the same. I'm sorry,
make
Ida, were you gonna make a motion?
Yes, make a motion to receive this report and recommend to forward to city council.
Oh, great. Is there a second on that motion?
I second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Brentnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Pisano,
Yes,
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
and Chair DeBreeze.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And there's no items for city manager comments, planner comments, chair, commission comments. So I think all we need now is a motion to adjourn the meeting.
make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Pisano. Anyone?
I second.
I thought you guys wanted to stay.
It's just fine.
A motion to adjourn in a second, and Liz will want a roll call vote for this one also.
Commissioner Brentnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Pisano,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez, and Chair DeBreeze.
Yes, thank you, everybody. 1 hour,
Thank
not
you,
bad.
everyone. Thank you so much for your understanding.
Feel
Thank
better,
you.
Ida.
Yeah. Feel
Have a
better.
good, I'm trying. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
And thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John.